Jamie, Maddie, Tony, Kimberly.
Hey, first one.
First podcast. Welcome,
ever.
Kimberly.
Ever.
Welcome, Kimberly, to the podcast. Kimberly is wife of Anthony, married for 20 years. 19 years.
Yeah.
And has been around the church since
the beginning.
Officially the beginning, because of where the official beginning is.
Yes.
You've been around from the beginning.
From the beginning.
Like 3 weeks? Was it about 3 weeks?
3 months.
3 months late. 3 months late. The initial conversation launch. We're doing this. 3 months later, you started.
First service.
3 months you started dating. 4 months you got married.
5 months.
5 months.
Yeah.
And how many people thought y'all were absolutely nuts?
All of them.
100%.
Everybody.
All
And now
of
20
them.
and now 20 years later, you're like,
Best decision ever made.
weren't nearly as nuts as you
You
thought.
win.
Last podcast, last week, Maddie and I talked about 17 things, or not 17 things. It was like, I don't know how many things. It was like 10 things. I can't remember. Things we learned in 17 years. It just dropped today or yesterday, so you probably haven't had time to watch it, but because I know you're a big podcast watcher. But what's something that you've learned about church life, ministry, marriage, whatever you want to do in the last 17 years through the church or through ministry?
Striving for excellence doesn't always mean obtaining it immediately. If you're in ministry, you should be striving for excellence. I mean, that's biblical. We should do everything we do as unto the Lord. And so, but that doesn't mean you're going to nail it the first time. Yeah. The amount of things in this ministry that we have had to do, redo, punt, and try again so many times, but always striving for excellence. And so eventually you get closer every time.
I always use because when you say excellence, people think you're talking about perfection. You're not talking about perfection. We're talking about doing the very best that we can do with what we've been given.
Absolutely.
And I always use live stream as an example.
Yeah.
I'm going to get a lot of these steps wrong along the way, but live stream started with the earliest live stream I can remember was my flip camera. That was a person holding it at first. Yep. Then we got a stand for that flip camera. You remember it, like, just come out and you could see what you were doing. And then we would take the little thing out and upload it into YouTube. That's how we started recording services. And we still have some of those services recorded, some of those clips from that. Then we went to probably something like phones. I'm sure there was something in between the flip and the phones, but the next advancement I remember was the phone.
Yeah, we went to the phones because everybody had great phones at the time. We're like, hey, look at this new 720p video,
And they had to be up and down, right? Yeah. You couldn't do them sideways, so they were up and down. And then we went from phones to the circle thing. What was that called?
It was called
I can't remember. Anyways, the circle thing.
Yeah.
That was like and you could almost like you'd be back there going boop. Okay, let's zoom in here, and then zoom back in. It was very jerky.
It was a 180-degree camera that was like super high def. It was like 4K, and then it would it had a little app on it where you could pick different angles where it would just clip out because the 4K image was huge.
Yeah.
And it would just clip out different images and make it think you had multi-camera.
Then we went from that to multiple phones
on the Switcher app.
The Switcher app, which was
a lot of churches still using that.
Huge advancement. It was like, man, we set up 3 phones around the camera, and somebody had an app, and they would just click on which phone to use, and you could turn that one sideways, so it was like a television set.
You could do audio straight from the board. So if you're a small church trying to stream, the Switcher app, it's on your Apple iPhone, Apple Store. Check it out because
huge
it's
advancement.
So easy, and it gives it gives you multi-camera angles and great audio. So it was a game changer at the time.
Went to probably some cameras we're still using today back at the back and trying to figure out actual switchers back there and all of that sort of stuff. And then right before COVID hit, we had no clue COVID was coming, and we decided to make the investment into high-def cameras, the Resi, and the whatever these things are called, and like black magic cameras and the what's the program? What's the program that we use called? Is it Resi?
Well, Resi is the company.
The company.
Yeah, it was Living as One at the time, but they switched the name to Resi. But yeah, we went with
That's one to Resi.
all the BMD cameras. You know, some people don't like the name Black Magic Design, but
yeah,
that's what it is.
So and then we went from that during COVID because we had no clue what was happening, and then like the week before COVID, we streamed in high def with this company that has like whatever, this alignment with Facebook to where we could stream HD to Facebook, and you had no buffering because it was like on a delay, all this sort of stuff. Like it was like perfect, because then after COVID hit, week one, everybody was, 6 years ago where we were, where they were trying to do it from their phone, but because we had fought through the process to make every step along the way better, we were at a place to where at that time the Lord just kind of blessed the steps and honored our faithfulness through the process, blessed the steps to where we pulled a trigger at the perfect time. And our church happened to grow through COVID where other people's struggled to stay, to stay in front of people or whatever.
Really, it was the brainchild of constantly wanting to get better. I mean, listen, we were never satisfied through the process.
And we're still there.
Yeah, oh yeah.
Still not satisfied.
So much.
Now we're at a place to where we have, guys with harnesses on carrying around cameras, and guys on rolling carts rolling through the sanctuary so they can get, better angles. And, we got these little lights on top of each camera. Man, you tell me 10 years ago we were going to have lights on top of cameras? That would be amazing. You got these little lights on top of cameras. I remember you used to be having to point to the camera that I'm talking to. Where's the camera? Who am I looking at? That one? Okay. And yeah. So we're still constantly in that place of making advancements to make each area, and it's not just production. That just happens to be one area that we're talking about, but this is in every area of ministry. This is kind of how our minds work, where we're like, okay, what is the best we can do with this thing now, and how do we make it as great as possible with what we've been given? Yeah,
they always say dress for the job you want, and if you want your church,
you said that a bazillion times in the last 16 years.
Yeah, dress for the job you want. Yep. That's if you want your church to be executing at this level in whatever department it is, what's stopping you from doing that? And literally the move to Resi just came from one day on my day off. I was just like, how do we get better? How do we get better? We're beating our head up against the wall and just doing research. And then all of a sudden I was like, oh man, because we were having that buffer. We were all, people would be watching, and then all of a sudden it would buffer, and you'd have to wait.
And then you would see all of the decline of people that stopped watching at that moment because it was buffering. Yeah. So they would flip the channel almost.
Yep. So same exact thing where you're watching a Netflix video, and I don't want to sit here and have to pause it 18 times. So this company did that. Then they offered, like you said, the HD video, which nobody else did. It was 720p only if you're streaming through a camera. And so many things came from just the heart of how do we get better? We're not accepting mediocrity. And I mean, Lord knows we have that mentality, but then even still on Sunday, we had so many technical issues. Last Sunday for you guys watching. And I had somebody come up yesterday and trying to console me because we had all the things. And they're like, yeah, I was at home watching because I was sick, but don't worry. Right after I watched you guys, I watched Elevation, and they had trouble too. And then I watched another company.
Doesn't make us feel any better.
No, I was like, yeah, I hate that for them just as bad as I hate it for them.
Yeah, exactly.
It doesn't make me feel any better. But, you have things that should work, and then,
Technology will fail.
Technology will fail.
Yeah.
Technology will fail.
It will.
Every single time. And it's part of the... It's part of the problem where, you make the advancement to go to this step or this step, and then as technology catches up to you on so many other sides and interferes with that, you just have to keep ahead of the curve.
Yep, so true. All right, 17 years. What's something that you've learned in the last 17 years? About yourself, about ministry, about life, about whatever. 17 years I've learned...
I've learned that I'm going to continue to grow and continue. I'm never going to be there. I know that sounds so cliche, but walking in here 17 years ago, I was a totally different person than what I am now. I remember on one of our trips, we were going camping at Lakewood, And if you know anything about where we live, we're in Aner. So literally going camping at Lakewood is so much closer than what we would be if we were going to church anyway.
It makes our drive, instead of 45 minutes, 5 minutes.
Yes. And Tony's like, okay, you coming to church today? I'm like, no, I'm on vacation. And he was like, no, we got to go to church. And I'm like, no, I'm on vacation. He's like, we're closer here than what we were at home. But now it's like, I'm not missing church.
Yeah.
I am going to be there. We're going to prayer on Monday night. We got church on Wednesday night. So, yes, it has definitely changed. It is a relationship now rather than a checkbox.
Yeah, you've definitely grown a lot since you've been here.
Yes.
For sure.
Yes.
For sure. No offense to where you were prior to here, but your personality has stayed constant, but your spiritual depth and maturity has grown significantly over the last 17 years.
Absolutely. Whenever I first started, it was literally, you're a good person, you check this box, you go to church. That's all you had to do. Yeah. But it is literally a relationship. It's not a box that I'm trying to check now.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, obviously, you guys know, everybody watching this, we talk about it with Maddie all the time. She's grown so much in 17 years. And
in more ways than I'd like.
Lady today, she is helping out in the office. Her name's Ruth. She's from Peru. And in Peru, calling people fat is no big deal. Like Isai used to tell me all the time, like, no, it's like, it's what you do. You just tell them the truth. So she hugs me yesterday, and she, I kind of hugged her, side hugged, and she patted my belly, and she said, "You eat too much." I was like, "Yes, I do, Ruth." So today she cooked for some of the staff, and she made ahida janina, is what I always say. No, it's not how it's said, but anyways, it's very, very, it's a popular Peruvian dish. So she makes me a plate of it, and I was like, "Oh, it's so good, delicious." And Maddie was like, "What's in it?" And I was like, "This and this." And I said, "Potatoes," because I think normally they put potatoes in it or potatoes on it or something like that. And she said, No, I left off the potatoes because
It's true.
I was like, "Thank you, Ruth. I appreciate that." So yeah, we've definitely grown. You've grown.
Oh yeah.
You've shrunk.
Praise God.
How much weight have you lost?
50 pounds.
50 pounds.
Yes.
And what has that done for you mentally?
Oh, I am not the fat girl whenever I walk in the room now.
Okay.
Like now, whenever I walk in the room, people don't pay me any attention, or they'll hear my hey and they'll see me for that. But now mentally, I don't feel like people are looking at me thinking, "Oh, she's the fat girl that walked in the room." I'm just normal. People don't know me. They don't pay me any attention. So I'm okay with that.
I thought that was an interesting, when she first said that after her weight loss was just, you have so many people that look at people who lose a lot of weight and think, "Oh, now they think this." She's like, "No, I'm just thrilled nobody notices me now."
Yeah.
I'm just normal now. I
Very
wasn't
interesting.
normal before.
You felt like you weren't normal before.
Yeah. I thought,
Even though you probably were normal.
yeah, but I just thought people would look at me and just think, she's the fat girl, she's the fat girl with the good personality. You know how many times I've been told that, oh, if you would just lose a little bit of weight, you got such a pretty face, or you got such a pretty smile, multiple
People
times.
are harsh.
Yeah. So, but yeah, I'm just normal now, and I'm good with that. I'm good with being normal, and nobody pays me any attention.
It's easier.
It is.
It's easier. Yeah.
And I do think, I was talking with, we were talking at lunch a couple days ago about Rachel. Like, Rachel eats in a way in which we think is strange that until 20 years ago was normal.
Yeah.
But now we think it's strange that Rachel eats beets and fish and, brown rice. And everybody.
She made a cookie today with.
She made a sweet
potato
cookie today, and everybody.
Oats and.
Up until 20 years ago. So it's kind of, us three were raised. Maddie's was raised in maybe a little different style than we were.
Yeah.
Her family had money. We all were poor,
She had money.
She had money. After
Oh,
your
yeah.
dad died, you had money?
They had it
bougie.
before.
So me and you, listen.
It was us.
we
always pick
we're
them
raised
out.
a little different. You know what I mean? Like,
We
so
were just raised in the
I don't know.
South.
Tell me what you were raised like, and let me
we were
see.
raised where like well, first off, we didn't. You ate what was in front of you.
100%.
It's not like you eat it because I'm forcing you to eat it. This is what like
I hate beans. I hate them with a passion. My whole life. but it was rice and beans, and you eat it or
This is
good luck.
dinner. This is dinner.
What kind of beans?
We pour. This is dinner.
He doesn't like
All of
any
them.
kind of beans.
Green beans. I like green beans.
I love green beans.
Yeah.
That's about the only bean I like.
You should
I like
Michelle.
baked beans, probably because of the sweetness in them.
You know, it's strange. Like certain
Peas.
veggies I don't like that my dad loved because that's what we had, and the veggies that I enjoy are things that were almost treats for us.
Yeah.
Like a fresh tomato out of the garden was like a treat for us. Y'all, my mom would say, "Mama picked us a tomato out of the garden today," and slice up this fresh tomato, and you're like, my mouth's watering right now talking about a fresh tomato being sliced for us, you know? But like cabbage and squash, it makes I don't want it.
No, I do not like
I don't want it because it was like it felt like it wasn't every night for dinner. And then by the time I was, I don't know, 10 years old, I don't know how old I was, you know, things started changing for us, and you know, mom got a good job, dad had a, you know, anyways, things kind of changed around that age. But I do remember being young and being, you know, struggling with this is what's for dinner.
Yeah.
Like there's not like I'm not gonna eat this, I'm gonna eat cereal, and no, like you just eat this. This is what's for dinner. So whenever I see things like Rachel being, everybody joking around with her with what she's eating, in my head I'm like, that's completely normal to me.
Yeah.
It's completely normal. 20 years ago, it was completely normal that people ate and took leftovers from dinner last night to work with them the next day, and that's what they had for lunch.
Absolutely. I think that's the country though. Like
is country, yep.
I was raised in the country, so that was what we had. But we didn't eat out a lot. We had chicken off the yard is what we would call it. We would kill chickens and rice, gravy, but
You
that
never
was
kill one.
no, I ain't say
people
I did it. My people did.
My people.
My people. But yes, you took leftovers and you're fine eating leftovers. That was just normal.
Yeah,
I eat leftovers all the time. I love it.
Yeah. Still do.
but anyways, I don't know how we got off on that tangent, but
I don't like
just the concept of our culture's changed so much, and why we are so unhealthy
I think
today.
it's talking about us growing so much.
We're us growing so much. Why we are so unhealthy because we are cramming down Olive Garden and Burger King and wherever the Taco Bell yesterday, whatever it is, you know, we're cramming down that stuff
That'll make you lose weight.
rather than eating a piece of fish and some rice for lunch every day.
I've never liked fish, so I can't eat it.
Not really a huge
Not
fan of
chicken?
fish either.
I like
I
chicken.
want to like fish. Is there anything in your life that you want to like that you don't? I want to like fish.
People. Just joking. I was just joking.
So, why do you think of that? Let me just kind of give you some backstory. Maddie and I, and Tony and Kimberly, I'll say maybe not pre-kids, pre-teenage kids. Probably even, how's Evan and Eli? How's Evan?
12.
12.
So probably pre-Evan and Eli, because our kids were pretty much the same age.
Right.
Kids grew up together. You know, this was Friday nights. We were going to dinner together and watching. We loved movies and, you know, all of those things. And then kids kind of change some of those things, and you get old and you're chasing wherever they're going and taking them to ball games and things of that nature. And so Tony and Kimberly and Maddie and I have been have been through everything together over the last 17 years, from, you know, the good, the bad, and the ugly, everything together. And so I remember whenever you're talking about things that you know, maybe won't. I remember your birthday.
Oh gosh.
Fats?
At
That birthday?
At Fats Cafe.
That
I had to
birthday.
bring this up.
Yeah. I feel like it's a good
is
story. It's a good
great.
story.
It's
It's a good
good
story. I feel
story.
like
Good
so
times.
so Fats Cafe. You were probably you remember? I mean, that was probably 10 years ago.
At least. I'd say at least 10 years ago.
More than that.
Yeah. We've been married.
Yeah, it was probably pre-Evan. So probably
Oh, yeah,
probably
absolutely.
30. Yeah. So probably
It was
probably 14.
barely Anna Clark.
So probably 14, 15 years ago. No, it was barely.
No, it wasn't barely.
So
not quite.
14, 15 years ago, okay?
Yes.
Tony and Kimberly. Tony was working at the bank. Kimberly was stay-at-home mom at that time, probably.
Yes.
Tony's working at the bank, and we went to dinner at Fats Cafe. Y'all came in fuming at each other.
Yes.
It's your birthday dinner.
It
We're
was
like,
her
oh my
birthday.
goodness. And if y'all know anything about Jamie, he loves awkward, and he loves to dig in and
Poke
figure
the
out,
bear.
poke the bear. Let's figure out what's happening here. Why are we awkward? Why are we steaming at each other?
I mean,
And
I was crying.
crying.
Yeah.
You could tell she had been crying,
Yeah.
and she's still overflow of that, like
Yeah.
crying. And
Way to go, Tony.
and and finally, I think y'all went to the bathroom or something, or we went to the bathroom or something, and it came out that it was because
No. There was nobody going to the bathroom.
it just came
was
out.
It just came
you
out?
saying, "All right, guys, what's up?
what's up, and
What's wrong?"
and you finally let it out that you bought a shirt for your birthday.
Yes.
And Tony got mad at you.
Yes.
Yeah.
It was like a $20 shirt.
It was $17.
He
And
remembers the
he
exact
got mad
So
about
mad.
that.
So,
He was so mad, like
Tell him why you got mad.
embarrassing mad.
because we had no money.
So no money.
We had no
No money.
We're young. We're a young couple, 2 kids, and like she was a stay-at-home mom, so I handled all the finances, and I knew what we had.
Mm-hmm.
We had enough money to go to Fats and treat her for her birthday.
I think we ended up paying for her
And-
birthday,
And
right?
I don't
Because
even
we
remember
felt
what
so
I-
bad.
Hopefully, if we
And then
didn't.
we like probably
we didn't.
split
Here's
her a
20
20.
bucks.
I was about to say, you owe us one. You owe us one.
Go buy a
Hang
shirt.
on.
You know, I
Right.
had, whatever I had bought her for her birthday, and that was it. We had no more money, and she's just like, "Ooh, look at this!" And listen, $17
shirt.
But when you have 15,
Yeah.
$17, you know, I was just trying to make sure not only that
She
we
drank
ate
water
Fats,
that night
is
instead of
we
a
ate
sweet
the next
tea.
day.
Yeah.
You know,
Well, and there have been seasons like that for both of our lives. You know,
Oh,
we
yeah.
talk about it where
$8. We couldn't afford a $8 amoxicillin bottle when
Yep.
I had strep throat.
I will say,
I had to
after
borrow
that
it from my
birthday,
parents.
It's a running joke. Listen, I don't care what she wants.
Yeah.
I don't care if she wants a $1 million Ferrari.
You're gonna figure out how to
Go
get it.
sign the papers. It may get repoed next month. But you can have it for a month.
And Maddie always asked me on my birthday, did you go buy a shirt?
go buy a
Buy a
shirt?
shirt.
Every,
And cruise excursions. Let's
Yeah,
talk
I
about
was
cruise
saying that.
Oh,
excursions.
God.
And then we went on
Same thing.
we went on a married couples cruise,
Yeah.
and we
No,
were.
it was just, it wasn't a married couples cruise. This one I'm talking about. It was
it was
just,
just us.
it was
Yeah,
us
yes.
and another
brother.
couple.
Oh yeah.
Yep.
And so we were on a cruise and
Good times.
trying to book an excursion because we had been to this port so many times. So we were bored at Nassau. Let's book an excursion.
Catamaran.
So we booked catamaran. It was
Snorkeling,
awesome. It was
catamaran.
amazing.
It was so much fun.
Would've
And
been fun.
and y'all didn't go.
I
we
wouldn't
didn't
know.
go. We
I
didn't
wouldn't
go.
know how fun it was.
So again, at the time, I'm handling all the finances, and we saved up to take this trip. Man, it was awesome, and we talked about it. We're like, okay, cool, yeah, we know, you know, we're going on this trip. Everything's paid for. Gratuity's paid for. We go. We don't have to spend anything. You know, that was our agreement. We talked about. We saved.
Yeah, I'm
up money
sure you
to
got
win.
the bubbles package.
And no, I don't even think we did that.
He loves him some Sprite.
Bubbles,
Right.
That's right. But yeah, no bubbles for me, no nothing. And we get there, and then you guys go on the trip, and she wanted to go, and I was like,
One thing about me, I don't want to miss out on anything.
Yeah, you definitely have
I
FOMO bad.
literally do.
FOMO to the extreme.
Especially if we're going on a trip.
if you're out
Yeah.
digging a ditch, Kimberly wants to be there with you.
I want to be there
Yeah.
with you.
Make sure there ain't a
But-
joke told or something that she misses. I
Yes.
want to be here.
Yes.
But yeah, so I thought everything was cool. We had, you know, cool. This is
No.
what we agreed on.
It ain't.
Y'all go, and you know how it is when you're on the ship and nobody's there. You know,
Yeah.
you're free to go do a lot more stuff. No lines. It was not that for us. It was no fun. Kimberly was it took me a few minutes. Like she's just.
Fuming.
If you know anything about Kimberly, Kimberly is always bubbly, nice, and sweet. It's very unlike her to be, you know, nasty and not nasty, but just sulking and brooding, and that's how she was. I was like, "What's wrong? What's wrong?" And then I was like, "Did you want to go on the trip?" She's like, "Yes, I wanted to go on the trip." And yeah, so it was not fun. For
Let's just say
the rest
shortly
of the
after
day.
that, Tony has turned over the finances
Oh, yeah,
to me.
listen,
and
listen.
Now it's like do whatever you want to,
I
right?
worked at the bank for 13 years, and when I left the bank and came on here at the church, you know, while I was there, I handled the finances. I was like, "Okay, here you go. It's yours. You want to buy a shirt?" And it was freeing for me, but it was also good for her. It took about a year, but then after that, it was good for her to see. It wasn't just me saying that I don't want you to have a shirt.
Yep.
It was okay, cool. I'm not the guy who wants a bunch of stuff, so it's not like me saying, "Okay, can I buy this? Can I buy this?" I never buy anything. So it's just like, "Okay, here's the money. Do whatever you want. Just make sure we have food and make sure that we are good." And so through that, she saw, "Ooh, yeah, I have to cut back on this. I have to cut back on this." So her doing the finances was great for us.
Let's talk right here real quick
Does she
because
still do them?
Yeah.
because
Mostly.
because you have been you've always been so incredibly faithful with your giving.
Mhm.
It has been like a hallmark of who Tony is. He's always been faithful with his giving. Even in seasons where $17 shirts were difficult to purchase. This is like, hey, we're gonna plant a church and we're gonna like, this is before all of that. Like, it's funny to me when people think the reason we give, it may not that moment may not have been, but you were a giver prior to prior to being an associate pastor at a church. It's not about your role here that made you a giver. It's just kind of always been. Even when we were teenagers and you were, at Dunkin' Donuts, you were still a tither then. Yeah. So, like, in those seasons, like people watching this don't understand. And I see today's culture where they're like, if you can't buy a $17 shirt and you're still tithing, you're taking food out of your family's mouth, and that doesn't make sense. And now, 13 years later, you're looking back and you're like, man, thank God I was faithful in my giving.
Listen, I was talking to somebody 2 days ago. Somebody was at our house, some member of our family, and I was talking about then that you can live. Oh, my nephew just got out of his first job, and I was like, hey, bud, listen, 10%, first thing off the top. Goes to God. I said, because you can live better on the 90% than you can the 10. He's like, yeah, that's what Papa told me, and it's so true though. It's not just something I say. It's not just something that you have lived by. It's just something that we have bore out and seen God be faithful. Listen, you may go through moments where you can't buy a $17 shirt, but in those moments, we never, never seen the righteous begging for bread. That kind of, we've seen that. We have always had everything we need.
Right.
We may not have needed a $17 shirt.
Sure.
But, great to have it. But yeah, God has always been faithful. And, like, that's how I was raised. When my parents first gave me my $5 allowance, they were very, very adamant. Okay, cool, $5 allowance, here you go. Take 10% out. What is that 10%? It was just ingrained in me. And so, just like it was for you for so long. And you just walk it out. And so then when we got married, it was
And walking it out, whenever you look back, you're like, oh, I'm so thankful I was faithful.
Yes.
Because, God, you are so amazing.
Like everybody says, oh, hey, well, when I get this, I can do this. When I get this, then I'll be faithful. No, be faithful.
Be faithful.
10% is 10%, whether you have a penny or if you have $1 or if you have $100, whatever it is. God's not asking the person with $10 to give the same as he is the person with $1,000.
And the same way it was with phones and resi and switchers and all those sorts of things, same way it is with our finances. Mm-hmm. When we have phones, we do the best we can here. And if you have $100 a week, you're doing the best you can here. Or if you have $1,000 a week, you're doing the best you can here. Or if you make $10 million a week, you're doing the best. You're doing this with the best that you can with what you're being a good steward with what God has put inside of your hands to be a good steward with. Yeah. And you'll never regret it, ever.
Absolutely.
Were you raised to tithe? Was that a thing for you?
Yeah, my mom would write a check every Sunday, and she would tithe faithfully. But it wasn't ever like Tony's parents handed him money and said, "Here, go tithe." I saw her doing that, but never did that. But whenever me and Tony got married, he said, "There's two things that we've got to agree on before we get married. We'll never talk about divorce; it'll never come up, and we'll always tithe on everything that comes in our house." So that was just two non-negotiables that we had whenever
we had three, and recently we bumped into one of our third one where we had to have some conversation. We're gonna tithe. I remember that conversation. She's like, "Do you make enough? Didn't your tithe enough?" And I was like, "Nah, girl, you ain't gonna put your cursed money with my blessed money." That's what I told her.
I didn't know what tithing was.
No.
You would just pass a plate and people would put money in or take money out.
It was unique, and honestly, just what God has done in her life, even in tithing, it's just blown. Like we could sit here, all four of us sit here and just let's do that. Let's do a podcast on
tithing.
How God's faithfulness through the years and some of the stories we could recall of what he's done. So we're going to tithe. We're not going to talk about divorce. And number 3 was we're going to use the good toilet paper. Yeah. Oh. And the other day, I sit down on the toilet. My wife, we went to Hawaii. Johnny Moore has told us for 10 years, whenever he comes off the mission field and he retires, the only thing he's bringing from Southeast Asia with him is a bidet. And so Johnny, at that time, Maddie was like, "Oh, it's so gross. There's no way I'm going to use a bidet ever." We go to Hawaii for our 20th anniversary. It was amazing, incredible. In our bathroom, in our hotel, it had a bidet. When she used a bidet, you're hooked.
You're never going back.
You're never going back.
You're a little
Okay.
scared the first time. You're like,
Scared the
what's
first time.
gonna happen? And then
Scared
you're
the
like,
second
yeah,
time, and then you're like,
wrong angle. You're like,
oh my,
ah!
and then
But-
and then you're like, oh my
And
goodness,
you're
this is
hooked.
amazing.
Ah.
So we go home, we get a bidet. We've had a bidet since 20 years. So
2 years.
over a year, yeah, 2 years, almost 2 years, 2 years,
Almost.
almost 2 years.
Year and a
So
half.
last batch of toilet paper we buy, we go never in 20 years ever gone cheap.
Yeah.
We can buy off brand, but it's still the nice thick,
Yes.
you know, even
Gotta have that,
it's,
that 2-3 ply.
yeah, it's got to be some nice stuff. So all of a sudden, I'm like, well, maybe like we ran out of toilet paper and, you know, this was just hiding under the sink or something. We brought it from a hotel room with us, something of that nature, you know. And so,
Been there.
so,
Do that.
so I, you know,
You
I
don't,
didn't
it's
complain
bad.
through the first roll, and then the second roll gets put up there, and it's the same way. And I said, hey, honey, remember our rules.
Not
We're gonna
roll.
tithe.
That was not a roll.
We're gonna
heard that
tithe.
rule.
We're not
said it
gonna talk
just
about
now.
divorce,
Uh,
and
That
we're
was
not gonna
never
use
a
cheap toilet paper.
non-negotiable.
And so I said, I know you've got this bidet that all you do is pat your hiney clean, but some of us still have to wipe. And I'm one of those that still have to wipe. So I need you
so
to buy
you don't
me.
use the bidet.
I will. I don't trust it.
Okay.
Dabble
I'll
with
partner
it.
it. I'll partner with it. I don't trust it just yet.
Okay.
I ain't sure that I'm not sure that I'm clean afterwards. I need to make sure that I'm clean.
Okay.
That's how you wipe to make
well,
sure. and
listen,
you are.
Tony is very particular about his toilet paper too. Like he
100%.
legit carries a roll of toilet paper in his book bag, just in case.
Listen,
That started at Lee University. Whenever he'd go,
I'll tell you. I'll tell you when it started. Me and Scott Slate went on a mission trip to Colombia, and Scott told me, he said, "Hey man, listen, you get to a public restroom, there's no toilet paper," and I still to this day have not got a straight answer on what they do there. But we were in an airport that, you know, the planes got rerouted, all that stuff, and we were in the airport in Riohacha, Colombia, and I go to the bathroom. There's nothing there.
nothing.
Did you not have toilet paper in your book bag that time?
I had Clorox wipes.
Oof.
You had an extra
I
clean
was clean.
tail hole.
I was clean. I was clean.
Well, this podcast just took a turn.
So yes, ever since then, I mean, listen,
It was
Joseph
bleached.
picking on me. We went to the Clemson campus, you know, on that first trip to do construction, and I go out to my truck, grab my tool bag, and headed to the fellowship hall there because I had my toilet paper in my fellowship in my tool bag.
Makes sense to me.
I mean,
Gotta have good toilet paper.
got created
True
for a
story.
reason.
Yeah.
Or a good bidet.
Or a good bidet.
Never tried one.
Never used one either.
You really should.
Once you
Okay.
try, you're gonna be hooked.
Good
It's-
to know.
It is kinda. It'll make you want to dabble in it. You're like, I don't know. We'll see. We'll see.
I like
We'll
it.
work this out.
I feel so clean.
You remember the first time ever meeting Kimberly?
I have a great memory. I remember
Maddie scared
meeting
me.
her at the church.
She's scared.
I don't
She
doubt
scared
that a
me.
bit.
She scared me whenever we first met, and it was shortly after. Obviously, we were getting married. So Tony's like, "Yeah,
Oh, shortly after we got married.
no,
Getting married.
We were getting married shortly after me and Maddie met. We were getting married. So within months, these are Tony's best friends, and yeah, she works at a bridal shop. You can go up there, and again, my body image. I was like, oh no, don't want to go with that
No.
skinny girl, and she scares me too. So
Mhm.
really, it was very uncomfortable.
Little.
Yeah, you were
I
your
know.
size now.
No, still.
Smaller than that.
No, it still wasn't. It wasn't
Wasn't the
Maddie
same.
Little.
Maddie was
Maddie Little.
Maddie at that time was 115 pounds.
Yeah.
And yeah.
Yeah. So Maddie scared me. It took me a little while to warm
Maddie
up to
has a
Maddie.
very
I'm right here.
thick shell to get through.
Funny.
Yeah. She does, but once you get through it, like we're
It's
best
like-
friends for life.
It's like a M&M.
yeah,
Like once you crunch through the hard outer
Yeah.
shell, it's like just ooey gooey
yes,
deliciousness.
yes.
A little tougher than M&M. Lobster tail. A little lobster tail. That sounds yummy. Yeah. Yeah. So, anyways, God's been incredibly faithful and
Amen.
learned a lot through the years, and thankful for. We were talking last week about how some of the people who are with you from the beginning won't be with you through it all, and we've seen a lot of those people come and go. A lot of people who have said, I'll be with you, and a lot of people who have,
That's a sure sign that they won't.
yeah, and a lot of people who
Have you
have,
ever said that to us?
No, Tony said he's never said that.
Never said that.
yeah,
I won't, because I mean, Lord knows. I mean, God could call me to Africa tomorrow.
Yeah.
And I will be the Palmetto Pointe missionary to Africa.
yeah, you never know. But yeah, we've talked about how through the years so many people have transitioned into different places, and I think the difference in you and I is whenever we talked 17 years ago about what the future holds, or even go back further than that, when we're in youth group together talking about what the future holds of ministry, the things that we're seeing coming to pass now are things that we saw in ministry then.
Yeah.
And I think that's one of the things we talked about is people who go to a 20-member church want to be at a 20-member church, and they couldn't see where we're at now. And even people now can't see the mall and can't see the future. You know, I had somebody message me Sunday after church and saying basically, hey, thank you so much for that sermon. I was struggling with all of the talk of keys. I didn't understand how that benefited us or how that made it, how that made our church better or whatever, something of that nature. And I'm like, it's amazing how people even here, seeing all that God has done, can't see the next step.
I think people lack the vision and I think people lack seeing the benefits of growth. Like, unfortunately, we've got so many people that are self-centered and, hey,
for sure.
Feed me.
For sure.
But like growth is the kingdom.
Yeah.
Growth is somebody spending eternity in heaven and not hell.
It's like I said Sunday. It's funny that people will say, I'm so angry that this church is growing and that prophetic words over Pastor Jamie's life and over this church are coming to pass. I don't like this church anymore because prophetic words are coming to pass. And you're like,
who says that?
That doesn't make sense.
Like, people drive me crazy. But
It's all right. We love them.
yeah,
We love all those people.
We love them. We do love them. Listen, I
And
think
God
that's the
bless
hard
'em.
part. That's the hard part is you love them
Yeah.
and you just want to shake them and say,
Yeah.
what are you doing?
It is the kingdom of God. It is the Great Commission. It is, God didn't come down here and sacrifice himself on a cross so that we could just hang out with 20 people in a church. He came here so that we can be propelled and compelled to go out into the highways and hedges and bring people in.
And that's done a lot of different ways.
100%,
Stuff like this,
100%.
podcast, it's
Yeah.
done through this. Sometimes
God.
we're feeding the hungry. Sometimes we're, doing women's meetings. Sometimes we're doing one-on-one counseling in our offices. Sometimes whatever it is, it's done a lot of different ways. The way we go out and we share what Christ has done for us. It's not this is the way it has to be done. You go to the streets and you preach, Billy Graham type revivals. No, I mean, or street preacher it's done a lot of different ways. Thank God for this way right here where we're able to record a video and put this out there for the world to see and be encouraged. There's a young pastor watching this that's going to say, wow, I'm so thankful that these guys kept pushing through, that these two families kept pushing through. There's going to be, husbands and wives that are going to hear this that just fought over a new shirt, and they're going to say, oh, we can make it through. 13 years later, y'all made it through. 15, whatever it is, we made it through. So I think that's important for people to know and understand is like there's a lot of different ways to continue to grow the kingdom of God.
Yeah, but it is growth.
Growth's got to be growth.
It's growth. There's no stagnation in the Word of God. It's growth. And I remember back when we were running probably 30 people, our small little 4-person church board that we had, me, you, and 2 other guys. I remember you asked us all that night to, hey, write down your vision, your 5, 10, and 15-year vision. And mine was this, it was growth. It was, hey, in 5 years, I want to be the associate pastor of a 500-member church or whatever the numbers were.
Yeah, for sure.
But that's because it's growth. Because when people come in and grow, that's another soul that is so valuable to God that he came down and died. So we can't dismiss that. We can't think that it's just fellowship. Fellowship's awesome, and it's such a part of the Christian experience. But it's got to be growth. Yeah, you're not growing. You're
So just like I said in starting point, we're talking about people and how big the church is getting, and some people don't like the way that the church is growing. But like you said, it's another soul, and that's how we have to see it. But whenever you walk in the door, you feel the love of a family.
Absolutely.
It's not necessarily whenever you walk in the door, it's a big church. It's a family whenever you walk in the door, and
Absolutely.
you feel the love right whenever you come in.
Absolutely. It's funny how that works.
Yep.
So, anyways, thanks for sticking this out with us for the last 17 years. Appreciate you guys. Y'all are awesome. Thankful for you. Remember when we were moving to this church, Kimberly came and hugged Maddie and I, and she said, our relationship as we know it is over forever. I understand. I've come to grips with that. I understand it's over.
You said that? And it's changed.
It's changed.
It's
yeah.
changed, but it's not over. It has definitely changed, though. But I mean, it's a good change. We've, like you said, we've added more people into the family and into the group, and it is what it is.
Yep, it is.
Yeah.
So, anyway, love y'all.
Hallelujah.
Thanks for hanging out with us today. Love you guys. God bless. Peace out. Click here. What camera are you on? This one? Click here if you'd like to watch last week's podcast. Click here to subscribe. Love you. God bless. Peace out. Let's go.